Good evening, my dear Alpha.
Good evening, Your Highness.
I'm glad you could finally come over. It's been so long since we had one of our private sessions in person.
Didn't we chat on New Year's?
That was over 3 months ago. Is it wrong of me to miss such good company?
Good company? Oh no, did you start drinking without me?
Oh, hush. Come sit. I've already got your drink prepared.
Much appreciated, Your Highness. Thank you, Celine.
That's more like it. So, before I get too caught up in gossip, how have you and the pack been? Your deliveries are as timely as ever, but how is that whole end of your operation going?
It's going well. We've finally settled into something that works for everyone in the pack. And we've actually been able to up our quantities when sending out to Clayton and Valera. Although lately they've been pushing me to expand our outreach to other courts further across the country.
It would be beneficial to your profits.
But it would push us to overhunt and therefore deplete our resources for the courts we're already contracted to. I'm pretty happy sticking with the ones we're working with now.
I'm glad to hear you're thinking ahead. Short-term investments are important, but long-term are life-changing. Though, I'm sure if any actual emergencies were to occur, you would be the first one to extend help.
Of course. Speaking of potential emergencies, has there been any update on finding Evie's maker? You mentioned sending out a few of your own to go out and find them.
Unfortunately not. Not yet, anyway. I'm hoping to hear back in the next few weeks, but until then all we can do is wait.
I was afraid you'd say that.
Believe me, I dislike saying it as much as you dislike hearing it. The one silver lining we can count on is even if her maker isn't found, there's nothing they can do to her from afar.
How can you be sure?
What I believe happened to Genevieve was a process called bond burying. A sort of get-out-of-jail-free card for makers. Once they've turned someone, if they know how to do it, they can bury the bond between maker and progeny beneath all of that untamed and unmanifested magic. Genevieve was a non-wielder before she was turned, correct?
Yes. She didn't have any history of magic in her family, not that I know of.
Then when she was turned and the magic manifested itself, it didn't properly settle in those moments. All that magic was still swirling around, untethered. A newly turned vampire is gravely unpredictable and immeasurably strong, but also incredibly vulnerable. In those moments, her maker buried the bond beneath that magic so that there wouldn't be any kind of connection between them. They could go as far as they wanted without ever feeling the pull, and Evie would never have any knowledge of where her maker was. It's a complete disconnect from accountability.
From what you've described the bond to be like, wouldn't that be preferable?
And let careless vampires off the hook while abandoning their progeny, letting newborns wander blindly without any form of guidance or care.
Right. Point taken.
As loath as I am to admit it, the practice was very popular hundreds of years ago. But it was because of those times that many courts outlawed it. Any vampire after the fact caught doing it would be disciplined.
I'm gonna assume by disciplined you mean...
It certainly wasn't pretty, but it was effective.
Right. I'll take your word for it.
Good call. With the bond properly buried, technically her maker can't invoke her to do anything. There's no connection, no separation pains. They are essentially dead to one another. So if they were permanently to stay away, Genevieve is essentially untethered. Safe.
But that's only if they stay away. What happens if they don't?
Were Genevieve's maker to come back into contact with her, they could resurface that bond at any time and invoke her to do anything.
You think they would?
Turning is a taxing process, Claire. And bearing a freshly made bond between maker and progeny is no accident. I'm not taking any chances with what they'd be willing to do. So the sooner we find this maker, the sooner we can have them sever the bond properly and figure out why they buried it in the first place.
Fingers crossed, then.
And on top of Genevieve's predicament, apparently that's not the only vampire problem we have.
Do not get me started on that. Not only are we dealing with wannabe arsonists, now apparently Rangers had their memories manipulated.
Arsonists?
Beth's partner had a vision. Something about a fire catching near the den, and then there being 4 casualties. They said the images were pretty fuzzy, just fire, what looked like the den, and then a cloudy sky. But there was a radio broadcast detailing the events from the morning after, and that one was clear as day. There were specific locations, a date, so we're taking it pretty seriously.
I see. And I'm assuming you have an idea who might be starting this fire.
I've talked to my pack about it. And we've got a feeling those poachers might be throwing one last hit before skipping town.
Why would they target you?
I'm the one that dragged the authorities into taking their licenses. Apparently they took it pretty personally. Someone heard them mentioning my family specifically at the bar, so if anyone's going to go out of their way to start lighting fires, I'd imagine it would be them. Plus? I tried doing some digging on the poachers myself, and while I couldn't get everything on all of them, I came across a story from a couple years ago. It was the same situation as here. A bunch of poachers accidentally caught wind of a shifter pack in Montana and ended up killing one of them.
Oh.
At first, it was just considered an accident, but once the Bureau got involved and started doing some digging, they realized one of the poachers was an open wielder.
Then wouldn't someone like that know better?
That's the thing. They did. It's rare, but some people still think that once a shifter goes into their wolf form, they're, quote-unquote, fair game. Larger game means larger payout, so they brought in a couple of non-wielders who wouldn't be able to incriminate them and went after the pack. But once all that came out, the open wielder disappeared. And I don't know if they just dropped off the face of the earth or if the pack got justice for themselves. I don't know. It was years ago, but part of me has a feeling this is just history repeating itself.
So what about these poachers is so different?
Nothing. There's nothing suggesting that they have any knowledge of magic whatsoever. I even got some documents that I was able to cross-reference. Nothing matched. Not to mention we put up additional wards around the den, and none of those have been broken, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just being overly cautious again.
You have a group of armed individuals coming onto your territory who already don't like you. Magic or not, caution is the better option.
Got a point.
You know, you could give me names. I can have it handled.
No, you can't. Because I was contacted by the Bureau after my inquiries, and since technically none of the poachers have actually done anything to my pack directly, we can't do anything to them until they do something to us. Apparently, we are at an obvious advantage.
Damn.
If we strike first, it wouldn't be in self-defense. Even if we did find their traps, there's no way to prove it was actually theirs.
So now you wait.
So now we wait.
It's truly riveting, isn't it? Being in charge.
If I'd known ahead of time, I would have fought off the counts a little harder when I got appointed.
Speaking of which, it's coming soon, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Next year. We'll, see what happens.
I don't think you have anything to worry about. You're the alpha of your pack for a reason.
Yeah, technicality.
Oh, don't you start.
We'll see what happens next year. For now, I'm still the alpha interim, and I'll do what needs to be done and look out for my family.
And a certain park ranger?
Ugh. If If we're getting into that subject, I'm getting another drink.
Oh, and now the dramatics.
Oh, ha ha ha.
I must admit, I was surprised when you called me that night. You sounded so worried. And you're sure you still think it's magical modification?
They were showing all the signs that you said. Paranoia, disregarding boundaries, and when I mentioned the Bureau explicitly, there was nothing. No recognition. I even called the Bureau to confirm it was actually them in the records, and it is. They're a fully registered liaison, but they have no memory of anything in the magical world.
If they had done anything worth a full memory wipe, that certainly would have been added to the records.
Unless the person who wiped their memory wasn't part of the Bureau. And the only people with that ability would be vampires.
Have you tried talking to them since you found out? Try to find anything about their history that would lead to them interacting with any vampires or...
The last time we were together, things didn't go so well, so I'm just letting this cool off for now.
You do know you can call a memory modification team, and they do their best to restore their memories now.
I know, but I have no idea what they might have forgotten, what led to them being modified in the first place. Celine, that's going to be their entire world crashing down and slotting back together again in a matter of seconds. I can't do that to them while we've still got this Poacher mess to deal with. If it's a matter of magic, I don't want them getting caught in the middle of it while dealing with all of that.
My goodness, you really do care about them.
No, I don't. I'm just avoiding talking to them for as long as possible. Don't twist my words. And they've made it very clear they don't want to talk to me anymore, so that's fine.
Trouble in paradise?
Excuse me?
Oh, nothing. Just something Bethany mentioned.
Oh, for the love of...
In jest, I promise, only in jest. Though it does bring up a much more light-hearted topic.
Oh, no.
I have just so enjoyed seeing our two star-crossed lovers flit around the estate, and we all know my anticipation for Bethany and her partner. But I wonder when I'll ever see the same for you.
Celine, if I ever act as lovesick as Knight and Evie, I want you to take me out back. No offense to them.
You know, Silas has had his eye on you for quite some time.
I thought you said I scared him.
And who says fear can't go hand in hand with attraction?
Is that your way of saying he's going to ask me out?
It may be a possibility.
Well, I'll say it's not.
Why not?
Because we already went out on a date.
And when did this happen?
Early January, sometime around then. We got to talking at the New Year's party. He asked me to dinner. I said yes, and we had a great time.
Claire Mackenzie Green, that is my second in command, and you are not going to spare me any details.
There are no details. He was incredibly courteous and sweet.
But
by the end of the night, we had more fun as friends than a potential item, and we parted ways without even a kiss goodnight.
Huh. Prude.
I'm not saying he's not attractive. I can see that clear as day. He's just not my type. I prefer someone a little different.
Oh. Is it women? Oh, is this your way of asking me? Oh, Miss Green, I'll have you know I am quite married.
Uh-huh. And I know for a fact your wife would be the first person to encourage it. Everyone else in Glenwood might think you're a saint, but I know better.
Oh, I don't know what you mean.
She told me about your 100th anniversary. And that party in Paris.
Which?
1736.
Oh. Remind me to have a chat with her as soon as she comes back.
Is it true you two really...
I am not the focus of this conversation. It was all her idea anyway. We are talking about you and your love life, or lack thereof.
Hey.
So, Silas.
Not gonna happen. He even said himself he'd rather stay friends.
Oh, don't sound so relieved.
I promise I had a nice time. He's just so...
polite.
He's so polite. I felt like I had to be taking notes. We spent most of the dinner talking politics and diplomacy, and it was all wonderful and fun at times, but if I'm gonna date someone, I want them to argue with you, challenge me. Someone who makes me strive to do better and where every conversation is earned and not so passive.
Interesting.
What is?
Nothing. Just glad to know that the fighting spirit is still there, and that you know yourself well enough to know what you want.
Yeah, well, I'm good for now.
Claire, look at me for a moment.
Yes?
How do you feel?
Fine. Why are you... Are you trying to trance me?
That depends. Is it working?
No.
600 years of vampiric magic barreling at you and not even a hint of surrender.
Nope. Just exasperation.
I did promise I would make sure your powers never began to wane. You're not just an alpha. I must also treat you like the Blood Mage's apprentice that you are.
Then does this mean I pass my test, Professor?
Yes, but I am docking points for attitude.
Wow, it's like I'm back in high school all over again. In all seriousness, I am practicing every day.
I know. I never doubt that. Now, I'm not sure if you were still intending on that second drink, but I feel I am in dire need of one as well.
I can get right on that.
Thank you, darling.
And then I can tell you all about how our resident seer asked Beth to move in.
Oh, wonderful.